I had just started making YouTube videos. It was pretty much the first season I was casually watching anime in over a year, and I was looking for shows to watch. Now, I normally don't watch sports anime, and I had barely heard the name, Ashita no Joe, but there was something else there. I watched this show only because of one name. Shallow as hell, but you saw the title of this video before you clicked on it. This show that I only watched for the music became an all-time favorite, even though I waited 3 years until after Nomad Season 2 started to watch the last 4 episodes. Junk Dog is a man who throws fights for money, getting direction from Gensaku Nanbu, a retired trainer and a gambler deep in debt. Now, being a trainer, Nanbu knows JD here has real skill, and he wants to box for real, but there's no real opportunity until someone brings one directly to Nanbu mid-match in the form of a Megalonia poster. After that match, bloodied and angry, JD nearly runs over Yukiko Shirato, who just happens to be the head of the company in charge. He rejects her kindness and her tournament, picking a fight with her own entrant Yuri that Shirato breaks up before it starts. After that, one of those run-of-the-mill fixed matches turns into a real fight against him. This fight isn't getting thrown. As much as Nanbu would like that, he isn't going to stay down, but he's gonna lose anyway. Somehow I feel like I've brought that up before. Yuri invites him to Megalonia right there, and now Junk Dog wants in. So, after some convincing, Nanbu goes to his creditors with a new plan and needs one thing from them to pull it off. Fake ID for Joe here. That's his name now. So, Megaloboxing. Pretty much just normal boxing, except they have these gear rigs to help with strength and speed. Shirato plans to sell her companies to the military, and Megalonia is just a display of Yuri's specifically. And if you thought that it looked different compared to everyone else's, like maybe that's just his arms, yeah, it's integrated. Doesn't come off. But if you're not rich and corporate sponsored, how do you get good gear? You probably don't. So as a gimmick, as well as to save costs, Joe comes out as Gearless Joe. All of his fights are pretty great on their own, but my favorite has to be against Shirato's brother Mikio. He uses gear that has AI to learn the attacks of his opponents and moves pretty much by itself. If that doesn't sound particularly creative, it isn't. There's nothing new going on with this whole show, really. It just uses tropes better than most other things. We see a few of Yuri's fights as well, just enough to know that he's a real threat to Joe in case we forget what happened in the beginning. By the end, it's clear that he just wants to fight Joe. On his level. So for the last fight, let me explain. Yuri's gear was integrated with his body. It wasn't removable. He did not have the same goal as Shirato. Her plan to sell the gear tech to the military, he's in it for the sport. So he went to Mikio and he had his gear removed, and the process of recovering from that was more than just rough, and frankly, he had not recovered by this fight. And this fight was incredible, but it needed to be. If it wasn't, what the hell did this show lead up to? And that isn't to discount the other fights. They were all pretty good, but I don't want to spoil those. The story's fine. It's generic as shit, and it's all you need. Man wants better for himself, meets a rival, climbs the ladder to meet him, gets his W. The rest of it on the way made it better. Having to get an illegal ID, Shirato finding out, Nanbu's creditors not really liking the Megalonia plan, everything else just adds tension. The visuals are interesting. The whole show has this low-res look that'll have you wondering if you're watching in 360p until you see text that isn't part of the animation, like in the OP or something. The style's great, and it does feel intentional, so I'm not pressed about it. It still looks good. I wish it didn't stay like that in Nomad, though. Even if that does have way better animation in general. But we'll get there. Season's not over. So I removed the original outro from this because it's old. It's a month and a half old. I talk about stuff in it that's not really relevant anymore. Like the beginning of Nomad and... No more. I'm cutting it. Okay. And if you're still here at this point, thank you.